It's a product of, Bro Bibs.
Bro Bibs.
Not to be confused with Dude Aprons.
Do they smell like dude, or do they smell like cologne or something?
These wonderful products have vitamin E and a soothing aloe.
That's not what I asked you.
I guess that means it smells like vitamin E and aloe?
Okay. Maybe aloe has a smell. But what makes these different than like the generic, Walmart disposable flushable wipes that aren't?
Well, these are called Dude Wipes, and they come in a black case.
How much are they?
$100.
Well, how many do you get for $100?
99.
That's ridiculous.
It's Dude Wipes.
That's stupid.
It's totally real, fake fact.
It's a real product. It's just a stupid real product. It's stupid.
Still,
unless they're paying us. Are they paying us? Are they sponsoring this podcast?
Not
In which case they're not. No, I love you, Dude Wipes.
This is HIMYM Superfans. Hello there, Chris Venezia.
Hello, James Hamilton.
Hello, Mother fans, especially the new ones. We're glad you're here. This is the show where we make bad decisions about the CBS comedy How I Met Your Mother.
And we are going to ruin this show for you like Ted ruined his relationship with Victoria.
By ruin it, of course, we mean we're going to spoil plot points for the entire series.
Yeah, we will have spoilers for the rest of the show. So if you don't want to know that in the final season it's revealed that Tracy also kicked Korean Elvis in the nards, then maybe come back to this podcast once you've watched the whole series.
Yeah, it was ironically the very same night.
It was, yeah. How is that possible?
Those nards took a poundage.
Show magic.
This is Nothing Good Happens After 2 a.m., a.k.a. we're juicing as friends.
Right. It's Season 1, Episode 18, if you want to watch it after this.
It originally aired April 10th of 2006.
And written by Craig Thomas and Carter Bays, because at this point in the season, they need to move the story in a particular direction.
Yeah, this is the beginning of the autumn of the Season 1.
Right, and it's directed by Pam Kicked Korean Elvis in the Nards Fryman.
Went to that nard well.
Yeah, we'll come back to it too.
So, quick episode summary. Victoria's in Germany. Ted thinks she's going to break up with him. He gets home from karaoke at 2 a.m. and Robin calls to invite him over. Meanwhile, Marshall, Lily, and Barney are still at the karaoke bar.
Right, and that's what just happened in the last episode. In this episode, Ted lies to Robin about Victoria breaking up with him, and he ends up hurting both Robin and Victoria. Says it's the stupidest thing he's ever done. So, James, what was most memorable to you?
Well, we both want to talk about this bathroom scene, but I also want to mention Marshall's line here. Some delicious juice!
Yes!
I don't know why that stood out to me, but that's my quotable line for the episode.
It is funny because Barney tells Lily, like, why did you do that? Like, Ted's going to go up there because he knows now that Robin wants to have sex with him. And then Marshall's like, and afterwards, she's going to make some delicious juice. Like, that's the highlight of Ted's night. The next day, when he's recounting the events of what happened at Robin's apartment, it's going to be about the juice.
Yeah.
And not all of the banging.
We had so much juice. It was delicious. It was berries. It was chocolate. Oh, and we had sex, and we had some more juice. It was great.
Right. Yes, that's the highlight somehow. But like you said, the bathroom scene is what I wrote down as most memorable for me.
Absolutely.
Where Ted's having a conversation with a manifestation of Victoria from his subconscious.
Yeah. I got a lot to say about that scene. It's definitely the most important scene in the episode.
We have a lot to say about this episode in general.
It's an important episode.
Let's go ahead and get to it. The episode starts with the first ever for this show previously on How I Met Your Mother. The voiceover is from present day Ted, which I thought was interesting that they didn't have the narrator do that, which is what most shows do that have a narrator. They have them narrate. But that one's done by Josh Radnor. The clips that they show are about how crazy Ted was about Victoria, but how difficult it's been since she moved to Germany.
Yeah. You know, Chris, as much as I love talking about the TV show Friends, this intro really does give a Friends vibe. With all these interconnecting romantic storylines, like they talk about Ted and Victoria, and then they talk about the Robin Ted thing, and who knows the secrets and who doesn't. In a way, it makes the show seem mature. In another way, it seems almost like the creators were trying really hard to say, hey, we have an important show. We have stuff going on. Pay attention.
Yeah, because you haven't had to necessarily pay attention so far in the series. It does remind me of, if we're going to talk about Friends, the montage that you can cut together, all the different things where, like, Ross is trying to find out how to prevent Rachel from finding out that he slept with the copy girl.
Okay.
It's like where, like, he goes to Phoebe's friend, the masseuse, who lives with Gunther, and he goes and talks to Gunther, and Gunther's already told Rachel, and you cut all that, together, and talking about, like, interconnected, romantic storylines, stuff like that.
It's almost soap opera-esque when they do that.
It is. So we do get to hear from future Ted, though, and he says that, kids, your grandma always used to say that nothing good happens after 2 a.m. And future Ted says that he agrees with his mother that is correct, that in his travels, by the time he's 50, he agrees.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mother Mosby yet, but she'll show up later in the series. No way of knowing if she's alive in 2030.
Yeah, they don't say that.
Doesn't matter.
No, that's not part of the story. That's not that important.
A recurring musical motif that you'll hear in this episode and a couple other season 1 episodes that I know of is this harp music that plays over the establishing shots of the city in the first part of this episode. It's very memorable to me. I feel like they used this musical sting definitely in the first season whenever there was a destiny moment or a big decision moment for Ted.
Yeah, it's something that if you try to figure out like what it's for, we'll come back to this and talk about it. But the harp music does seem to be when something important is happening. We'll leave it at that for now. We have more to say on that later. We will see the scene where Robin calls Ted and asks him to come over. We saw this in Life Among the Gorillas, but then we get to see Robin's day that led up to her calling at this point, like a flashback.
It's a pretty interesting flashback that takes up at least 5 minutes of the episode.
Right, so Robin gets up, and she's in a great mood. Mind you, this is Saturday, so she goes to visit Lily's kindergarten class.
Yeah.
Which is meeting on a Saturday.
Because...
For no reason.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen. Who missed that? Was it Bays? Or did you miss it, Thomas? Which one of you missed it? Robin went to school on a Saturday, kindergarten. Who screwed up? Let's move on.
I love this scene because it's got that classic happy morning music. I think it's actually We Were Young is the name of the track they use here. But it's great. It's a beautiful, happy poppy song. And the first thing you see is her in bed, and you wake up, and it's a wonderful sunny day, and she's surrounded by dogs, and she seems to be having a good morning. But her morning doesn't stay so good.
So Robin gets to the classroom, and I want to talk about the chalkboard behind her. It says, like, career day with a doctor, a fireman, a reporter, Barney. Not the purple one.
Yes, and she doesn't even know what he does to call him on the...
No.
She doesn't know what to call him on the...
Career day with Barney.
Yeah, not the purple one.
Right. So one of the kindergarten girls asked if Robin has a fiancé and asks if she gets lonely.
Of course not, because she has 5 dogs.
Right. And when another kid asks her if she's a lesbian, it's clear that Robin has now struck out with these kids.
So not only does she strike out with the kids, she strikes out at the kids. She gets a little snippy with the kids. I wonder if she's so sensitive about being called a lesbian because of her tomboy childhood. A fact we only know since we've seen the entire series. Maybe she's trying to be overly feminine in her adulthood to make up for boyish childhood. What do you think?
Yeah, her dad definitely did try to make her out to be a boy. Seeing some of those later episodes with Robin with like the short boy haircut.
Yeah.
And
I'm thinking specifically of the hockey teammates. Your teammates.
Yeah, the hockey teammates, and the one where she's burying the locket.
Yes.
When she and her dad visit New York. Like she's clearly meant to be his son. Mm-hmm. So Barney wins the kids over with his magic. He does a little, like, sparks from behind the hand trick. We saw this in the Slutty Pumpkin.
Yeah, and you wrote that the fireman in the background thinks the magic trick is cool. I noticed that too. That's a pretty goofy smile on his face.
Yeah, which I think that's interesting because I imagine that it's an irresponsible fire hazard to do that trick in a school, and especially to encourage kids to do tricks like that. I mean, firefighters usually go around to schools and encourage kids to not do what Barney is doing. Like, fire prevention education, people. Fire prevention's important. But seriously, I like that Barney did this. It shows that he's not a complete sociopath. He wanted to help Lily, and perhaps more importantly, do some magic for an audience that would appreciate it for once.
Yeah.
Because everybody else, the gang, is always telling him, stop doing magic.
Yes.
Oh, you're going to catch the place on fire, Barney. And, which he
yeah.
does, like the intervention banner. Like, well, you can't do that in the bar. We're surrounded by alcohol, Barney. That's not okay. The fire code prevents that, Barney.
Barney, that's illegal, Barney.
So finally, some people actually appreciate his magic.
Yeah, I really like
They're
that.
kids.
From the school, Robin goes to work, where she's a co-anchor at Metro News 1, where Ted calls her to talk about Victoria breaking up with him. Robin says that Victoria's not going to do that. She hangs up the phone with Ted, and Sandy Rivers, her co-host, who we see for the very first time, starts hitting on her.
Right, and I don't really want to get into the specifics.
I do.
And you may. I won't stop you. But he ultimately slaps his business card on the desk and says she can call him anytime for sex.
Yeah, it's pretty brazen. I think I want to talk about Sandy's character here a little bit, because this is the first time we get to see him. He'll be in like 10 more episodes, and he has a pretty decent arc, I think. He's introduced here as a sex pervert, yet he's not really all that pervy. He's open about his heterosexuality. He's blatantly hetero, and his comments are absolutely inappropriate. The way he talked to Robin was not safe for work. It's clearly a sexual harassment case there.
Yeah.
But he's not pushy. He made his pitch. He put the card on the table. He didn't. For all we know, he never mentions it again. And even later, talk about an arc. We learn about his proclivities, his weird costume play is part of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode as many times as other episodes, but I'm pretty sure there's like a furry thing going on.
There's several people in attendance, so he's into group things.
Right, group things and furries.
So he's not ashamed. He's open about that, and I kind of like that. That here's a character. He's not criminal, but he's a little out there with his blatant heterosexuality.
I like Yosemite Sandy.
Yeah.
Isn't he also like what French Sandy?
That is coming up. I like that. Do we have Sandy fans? Are there any Sandy fans out there?
You might be the only one.
All
Let's
right.
see if anybody comes to your defense here.
Maybe I'm digging too deep. So Robin gets home, and her dogs don't seem to care that she's there, and I don't believe that for one bit. That's a bad dog.
That's a bad dog. So she pours herself a really big glass of wine. It looks like something out of the show Cougar Town.
Oh, Cougarton?
Cougarton. They often in that show make jokes about like the size of the container, so that it ends up being like one glass a day.
Yeah.
Or like the glass, throughout the series gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So you have to pour like, by the end of the show, you have to pour like several bottles of wine into this one glass, and it's like one glass.
Is it like one glass that she sets it down on the floor and it's almost as tall as she is?
It could be.
Yeah.
It's like really, you might as well just put your head into the glass.
It's more of like a planter at that point.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
it's a bird bath.
Yeah, exactly. You could just put a lot of wine in. So that's what I think of when I think of this glass that she's got there. Like it looks like the thing can hold an entire bottle of wine.
It's a big damn glass. It's a big girl glass. We mentioned the music here a little bit. Chris, tell me about this music, Quiet by Rachel Yamagata.
Well, as Robin's trying to unwind, like the music is playing, It's got sort of like this sad vibe. I didn't listen to any of the lyrics, but it really sets a tone. Robin, to me, appears to feel lonely despite having 5 dogs, which she just assured a kindergartner earlier in the episode that she doesn't get lonely.
Yeah.
Because she has 5 dogs.
5 dogs. I'm glad you tied that together, because that was missing for me till this moment. But what hit me is the atmosphere of this scene, is the soft lighting, the gentle music. She's drinking wine, she's sitting with her dog, she's in her pajamas, she's in for the night. It's definitely a well set mood.
She definitely put on her pajamas right when she got home.
Yeah,
which is the sign of not having a great day.
Right.
We'll come back to it in just a little bit, but it's it wasn't a great day, and when I have a day like that, I also do the same thing where I come home and it's shoot, clothes on the ground. They must be off of me immediately, and I will put on my comfy clothes.
Pajamas, wine, and music.
That's right.
That is a universal, I had a shitty day.
But Robin pulls out the business card that Sandy gave her, and she looks over it. This is the business card with his home number on it. Mm-hmm. And she looks at it briefly, and I guess the audience is supposed to presume for a moment that she's about to call Sandy and ask him to come over and have that, casual sex that he offered her. But she calls Ted instead. She doesn't want a booty call with some guy she doesn't really like. She wants to see someone that she cares about. And it's possible that Sandy's advances that day set her off. I do want someone to come over, but I don't want it to be Sandy. Well, who would I like to see? And it turns out that it's Ted that she would like to spend time with.
I can appreciate her situation. On the one hand, you could call someone over to make you feel something physically that you might regret later. And on the other hand, you could call someone to make you feel something physically and emotionally, not as physical as Sandy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. She actually likes Ted. And at this point in the show, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but she still thinks that Ted is in a relationship, and I don't think that she's inviting him over for any reason other than she had a crappy day, and he's her best friend. Yeah. Even more so than I'd say Lily, definitely more than Marshall, again, getting ahead of myself, and more so than Barney. Ted's her best friend. And she just wants her best friend to come over and just spend some time with her. She had a crappy day. Yeah.
So when we come back from the break, it's only been a few minutes into the episode, but we are caught up to Life Among the Gorillas, right where that one ended.
Right, and Ted asked her why she wants him to come over, which I think is fair. I actually gave that a little thought in my mind. If somebody calls me and asks me to come over at 2 a.m., I'm going to ask them why. Not that I won't, but what's the reason? Because I'm probably, thinking about getting in bed, or maybe you woke me up from calling, hey, what's going on? How important is this? Is this a 9 or a 10, or is this a 3? Yeah. Because if it's a 3, I'm just going to go to bed. Yes. Because I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yeah. But trying to think on her feet, she says that she set up her new juice maker, and she knows how much Ted likes juice. We don't know that that's a thing before or since. So she wanted to know if he wanted to come over and try it out with her. And I like Robin's reaction to her own suggestion. It's reminiscent of Ted in the Purple Giraffe. He's who am I? Who am I? Juice maker? Yeah. Why? Why did I say that?
Yeah, so Ted agrees to come over. I wanted to say that, to me, there was a look in Ted's eyes that told me that Ted believed he was just going over to comfort Robin. There was something obviously important that she wanted to talk about, but didn't want to discuss it over the phone, like you were saying. I could see in his eyes he was thinking, okay, is this a 3 or a 9? Right. And, I'm getting the vibe that it's a 9, so, okay, I will come over. But, at the same time, I'm not thinking I'm going to come over and we're going to have sex.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I didn't pick up on that he thought that there was something else, bigger going on. But that would make sense for him to agree to go. Because I don't think that he's bored at this point. I think he was getting ready to go. Well, he's not getting ready to go to bed because he's expecting Victoria to call. But he's already gone out. He's gotten back at 2 a.m. He's probably tired. He didn't stay at the karaoke bar, even though he seemed like he was having a good time. Yeah. I think he wants to unwind and wants to go to bed, but he can't because Victoria's supposed to be calling him. But yeah, I don't think that he's expecting anything.
So as Ted takes the cab over to Robin's, we hear the harp music again, the
Yep.
important decision, destiny music, and Ted starts treating these cabbies as therapists.
Right. The first one is drinking on the job, so Ted gets out and picks up with the next cabbie where he left off with the first one. Like, either of them gives a crap what Ted's problems are.
It's so clearly a technique for television. Like, these characters have no fucking idea. They don't care. It's not important.
It just shows that Ted is, like, he's up in his head.
Right. Yes, speaking of he's up in his head, cue Fantasy Victoria. She shows up in the driver's seat of the cab.
Right. She's going to resolve his internal dilemma. And that's my take on what Fantasy Victoria or Ghost Victoria or internal manifestation of Ted's problems Victoria. That's what I think she shows up to do. She's here to work out the debate in his mind. So, interesting side note here. I want to point out that Ted asks the new taxi driver to go to Park Slope 8th and 8th, which is in Brooklyn. For some reason, though, this address doesn't stand out in my mind, where 75th and Amsterdam does. Like, that's where the apartment is. But Park Slope 8th and 8th just doesn't register for me. But it is interesting to note where Robin lives. It's a little over 30 minutes from the apartment by cab. And I just want to throw out that I think if it took an hour or like a little over an hour, I wonder if Robin might have like fallen asleep waiting for Ted. Like it's 2 a.m. and she's had the better part of a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And, Ted's having this debate on whether he should go. He picked up groceries or already had them. We don't find out. But he's headed over to Robin's. Thankfully, for the story, it only takes about 30 minutes to get there.
Yeah, so some TV teleportation, maybe.
Could be.
So Fantasy Victoria gets Ted to call Marshall for a ruling on the I'm going over to another woman's house at 2 a.m. to make juice. This seems like maybe I should have some doubts scenario.
Yes.
Ted airs out his doubts by calling Marshall, and I love this exchange because it seems so real. Ted is flustered when he's explaining the situation. He can barely talk. Marshall just listens with a look on his face that says, I knew this was coming. I know what's going to happen, but let me talk this over with the group because I think I'm having an emotional reaction. And I don't want to vomit my emotions all over you, Ted. Let me clear this with the group.
He's going to do that plenty later.
Yeah,
vomit his
almost
emotions
immediately.
all over Ted. Well, he's going to hang out first and have a conversation, but then he'll spend the rest of the episode doing that.
Yeah. So Marshall hangs up the phone and explains the situation to Lily and Barney, and that's when he learns that he's the only person in the group, besides Ted, that Robin told that she likes Ted.
Right. That bothers him.
I mean, he knows because Lily told her because she can't keep it
Right.
secret.
And this is where we as an audience find out that Marshall knows it all.
Yes.
But that aside, actually this whole Marshall-Robin thing and them not being close, this comes up later implicitly and overtly throughout the rest of the series. Marshall and Robin are friends, for sure, but they are not as close with each other as they are with any other person in the group. They occasionally point this out, like in 3 Days of Snow, which is in Season 4, and The Mermaid Theory in Season 6.
Yeah, where they literally pair them up on screen together, and it feels a little awkward.
Yeah.
Marshall and Barney actually get into a shouting match about who's the better best friend.
Yes.
Because of this whole who knew about Robin thing. And I love Jason's improvised line, I used to box in the army, as he's just screaming, he stands up, and he knocks the chair over.
Yeah, it goes flying backwards. You can actually see Korean Elvis in the background, like, observe the situation.
They're going to get kicked out of the bar.
They don't, but they should at least have a talking to.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right ahead here, because the next scene's pretty short. But almost immediately after this screaming fight, they're back in their chairs talking to each other.
Well, I like that Lily, I want to go back for just a second. Lily is just sitting there
You're right.
and enjoying her drink. And I like that because the only way that she would be comfortable with this is if she has seen this very loud but harmless exchange between Marshall and Barney
She's
before.
Seen it before. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Like that's otherwise she should be freaked out by this. Like no, it's just Marshall and Barney are arguing about who is Ted's better friend. Marshall talking about that time that he boxed in the army, which he never did.
Yes.
So this is just something that I've seen before. I might as well just settle in, have a nice sip of my Metropolitan.
I love that observation because that makes perfect sense. So we don't get to see how the shouting match ended because the next thing we see is Marshall calling Ted and trying to spill this really lame lie about some sort of toxic leak in front of Robin's apartment.
Yes, and what happens is, Ted says, it's fine. Robin doesn't even think of me that way. And then Lily says, she does. She likes you. She grabs the phone out of Marshall's hand and she says, she likes you, Ted. We get some more heart music. I have to, go ahead and say my piece here. Ted is responsible for his own actions. But Lily really mucks this up, which we'll get to in a little bit. But when Robin called Ted and asked him to come over to Juice, Ted is actually the vulnerable one here. Yeah. Because he thinks Victoria is going to dump him. He thinks Robin wants to just be friends. He's lonely, and as I said, vulnerable, but he's not going over there with any expectations. Someone is paying attention to him, and that's all he's looking for. Barney is too busy karaokeing. Marshall is too busy with his new job and his new guerrilla responsibilities that we've learned about in the last episode. So Marshall can't hang out. Ted just wants someone to pay attention to him, and it isn't until Lily tells him that Robin is into him that he switches gears. And you can just see it change in his head. I honestly think that he expected nothing to happen when he started heading to Robin's. The problem is that halfway there, Lily tells him that Robin is into him, and then he doesn't want to go home. Yeah. He's I can continue going forward because I'm halfway there, or I can turn around, and that would take more effort to turn around. So it's if he'd had that information when he was at the apartment, he might not have gone in the first place. Yeah, he's like a ship on the ocean. It would take more effort to stop and turn around than it would to just keep going towards the port. Yes, that's exactly why I think that him learning this information now is the worst timing. Yes. To learn it. There's another example of timing in a different way. Yes. It's brilliant. So, I as Ted thinks about it, we hear that heart music, like you said, and maybe this isn't destiny music. Maybe this is decision music. The wheels are turning in Ted's head here. Yeah, and I like that. It's this big decision music. It's Ted needs to make an action. He needs to make a decision here. Whether he goes to Robin or stays home, both seem to have big implications to him. He does have a big decision to make in his mind. If it was destiny, then his decision wouldn't matter. He treats this like the opposite of destiny, really. If I don't go over to Robin's tonight, I could lose my chance with her forever, which is a pretty human thing to think and a pretty dumb thing to think. It's if it was destiny, his actions are irrelevant. Right. But if I don't go over there tonight, I'll lose Robin forever. It's what I get the impression that he's thinking, and that's dumb. Yeah. We could call this episode the bad decision episode, because every decision Ted makes is bad here. He deciding to go over to Robin's is bad. Deciding not to turn the cab around is bad. Yep. Deciding to knock on her door. Deciding to invite yourself in. Deciding to make small talk. Deciding to hug. And then deciding to make that hug. So it's quite a lot of decisions. As we move on to Act 3, Ted is at Robin's, and Fantasy Victoria is waiting for him on Robin's stoop. Another manifestation of his guilt, I believe. I would agree. Another interesting note, Ted doesn't get over to Robin's apartment until halfway through this episode. Yeah. We're at the halfway point at this point. We get into Robin's apartment, and she starts introducing us to her side of the story, and I love this line of hers. Do you ever have one of those days where nothing at all monumental happens,
but still, by the end of it, you have no idea who you are or what you're doing with your life. If you think about it, Robin's day really wasn't that bad. It's not like she slipped in horse poop on live TV that day.
Right.
The kids and Sandy remind her of her singleness, and at the same time, the same couple of weeks, that she's thinking a lot about Ted. And those two thoughts combine to weigh on her mind to the point where she's stressed out, and she's going to express her stress by doing something she probably wouldn't normally do, and call Ted at 2 a.m. for some emotional support.
Right. This is where Ted does make a decision. Based on all his conversations with Marshall, Lily, and Ghost Victoria, I don't think he was sure what he was going to do until the moment that it comes out of his mouth. But it's making a decision. Mm-hmm. He tells Robin that Victoria dumped him. And this is where I'm going to get on my soapbox for the episode.
Here, let me just scoot that over for you.
Yeah. Ted's normally a good guy. I harp on him for messing with other people's lives to get his own needs met. And sometimes I think he acts like a good guy so that other people perceive him as a good guy. But most of the time, I think he's a good guy. And this is where he is not. This is not what good guys do. Even after lying, he could have come clean, and I bet it wouldn't have been that bad. Like say, oh, okay, no, so she didn't break up with me, but I wish that she would. Like something. Anything. But this is another part of what makes Ted human and relatable. I won't say that I've done anything quite like this, but Ted isn't a saint, and neither am I. People are messy, and they make mistakes. It's what we do.
Very well said. They have a difficult time of trying to transition this emotional scene into a physical one. And so they just they keep talking, and they smile at each other, and things start to get a little bit flirty. You can see that Robin's happy that Ted's single. She can't hide it.
Right. Back at the karaoke bar, Korean Elvis. Marshall says that he rocks Infinity.
That's true. Mark that down. It's a known quantity.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I get from the impression from this episode that Korean Elvis is like, isn't that awesome? But the gang certainly thinks that he is. Like, Ted, we find out in a few minutes that Ted has met him before.
Well, it's another example of something that the gang makes up to believe in for no reason, which we'll see in Slap Bet if we ever get to season 2.
Right.
Barney, with nothing else to do in this episode, tries to disprove the Mother Mosby notion of nothing good happens after 2 a.m. by making the rest of the night legendary.
Right, that's the goal. And it starts by inviting Korean Elvis to drink with them.
Yep, and then immediately cut back to the other scene.
Right, the one that's important.
Yes. Ted falls back on the lamest small talk ever. Hey, I got a new phone. Check it out. Does this even work in 2016 where all the phones are flat rectangles?
Okay, maybe not when you describe it like that, but I'm a bit of a phonophile, so I mean, I would talk phones with someone, but I think that actually Ted's point in that was trying to get the point across, like the phone is a metaphor. It's like really, it's like heavy-handed and weak at the same time.
Yes.
Like, she gets it. Like, you both get it. Like, go ahead and make your move. I'm not saying that he should, but if you're going to make your move, Ted, just go ahead and make it. Don't talk about how you had one phone and you liked that one a little bit, but deep down, you really always wanted Robin the whole time.
Robin, I mean,
the phone. I mean, this other phone. You know, like just, all right, Ted, okay?
They set it up for this metaphor and also for the switcheroo later.
Right, that is important. It is a plot point.
Yeah.
But Ted gets a call from Korean Elvis. It's actually Marshall who called him. But he had his main man, K.E., make the call. The gang is headed to McLaren's with Korean Elvis, and they are calling him to meet up with him.
Yeah.
But Ted says that he is actually at Robin.
Yep, yeah, and I love his delivery. He sort of like delivers it with guilty pleasure. It's like, actually, I'm at Robin's. Tell me what to do.
Question mark?
This time, Marshall is not so emotionally reserved. He does not deliberate. He does not make up some bull hockey story. He gives Ted the tough love. What the bleep are you doing, dude?
And this is where I think that Ted's screwed. Like, he screwed himself.
Yeah.
Like, now he has no out. He's having a conversation with Marshall and Lily, who are people who know Robin and hang out with her. Like, what did he think? That Robin wouldn't find out somehow from the world's worst secret keeper and the world's worst liar that Ted had lied to her?
Yeah, she would find out.
There's no way she couldn't.
Yeah.
No matter which one of them screwed up first.
And not only that, Ted screwed himself because he can no longer rationalize this away as easily. Like, he's going to keep doing that. Actually, that's the next scene. But,
just to run with it now.
Before now he's conflicted with his own emotions. Now he's got other people telling him this is definitely not a good idea.
Right, yes.
He did not have before his main man, K.E., called him. So, after the phone call, Ted seems convinced that he should go home. And again, we see this in his body language. It's another, like, who am I kind of moment.
Well, he sits down and then, like, immediately gets back up and, like, pushes away from the couch. He's like, I should go.
Yeah.
And then even Robin's like, oh, okay, no, I understand. From her perspective, Robin is thinking, okay, so Ted and Victoria just broke up. So he's probably maybe a day or something of downtime before, maybe to think about things before I, like, push myself on him. So she's, like, fine with letting him go, I think, anyway. But, yeah, she's like, no, I understand that you would want to go even though you've been over here for, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a, 30-minute drive. But, yeah, it's like you can see in his body language that he's trying to get out of it, or at least in that one moment, and she's willing to let him go. But all of that changes with the goodbye hug.
Yeah.
Which then turns into a kiss as we get some happy sitcom music playing.
Yeah, and I kind of lean on Robin on this one. I think she was a little more into it. I think she held the hug a moment too long, and she definitely stroked the back of Ted's head. So Ted still gave in, but Robin was making it difficult for him not to.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, Robin believes that Ted is single. Actually, I think at about 2 Mississippi, they both knew where it was going.
Yeah.
So it was it wasn't going to end with just a hug.
Yeah. So coming back from the commercial, Ted's on top of Robin, between her legs.
Yeah,
her crotch in her crotch area. It might be in too much of a prude here. Is this a little risky for television?
No, it's something that, like, it just about doesn't happen, or like didn't happen in 2006. Like, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, we're fully clothed, so it's not like HBO porn here. But I mean, the only other romantic sitcom I can remember from this era was Friends, and I don't remember Ross ever, top of Rachel.
No. Most sitcoms try to avoid the genital pressed up against genital, kind of thing being on screen and in camera,
right,
in frame. So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Let's assume.
So Ted and Robin exchange the least sexy banter ever, and then decide to move it to the bedroom. Ted decides he's going to make a call to Victoria to break up with her while Robin gets the bedroom ready, I guess.
Yeah, I think that it's pretty reasonable for him to excuse himself to the restroom if she's wanting to move things to the bedroom. Robin doesn't know that it's to break up with Victoria,
right.
But it's reasonable for either party to want to go make sure everything is in order in the restroom, so that's not weird. But Fantasy Victoria goes ahead and shows up in the bathroom to poke holes in Ted's plan. She's manifesting Ted's logical side, while Ted argues on behalf of his feelings.
Yeah, really well put. FV, as I call her, points things out like, Robin's going to think you're taking a massive dump, and also this is morally wrong.
Right, both logical things.
Yes.
Back at McLaren's, Lily is getting tired of Korean Elvis, and after he whispers, something presumably wildly inappropriate in her ear. She, according to Barney, kicks Korean Elvis in the nards. To me, it actually looked more like she kneed him in the thigh or junk adjacent area.
Okay. Back at Robin's, FB finally convinces Ted to go home for about 1 second.
Yeah, but he has some things that he's going to say first.
Yeah, he needs to rationalize that jumping the gun by one night won't matter. She could be the woman I'm going to marry. I'm exhausted. These are all things Ted's trying to say. This is one of my favorite lines in the series. I'm exhausted from pretending I'm not in love with her. I can totally relate to that feeling. Ted is giving up. It's hard to do things right when you feel like you're always doing things right and being punished for it, while you see others who are doing wrong and being rewarded. In Ted's life, he treats women with respect, well, say for the most part.
Well, I'll give you that.
While Barney treats women like objects. Again, for the most part.
Yeah.
Barney is getting laid, while Ted is getting his heart broken, or breaking some hearts, left and right. This whole season has been a series of romantic failures for Ted. Now it seems like he's about to get what he wants, and all he has to do is compromise his morals. A little bit.
I could see how Ted would think that, for sure. So, by this point, he has worked it out in his mind. He weighs his feelings versus logic and decides that he'd rather sleep with Robin tonight than break up with Victoria first and then see if Robin would be up for it later. He has decided, and even his logical side is in agreement. He has consensus at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there's one last observation from his logical side. He has the wrong phone.
Yeah. In the living room, Robin is finishing up a phone call with Victoria that we can only imagine, and she coldly tosses the phone at Ted and walks out of the living room.
Yeah, and for a moment, Ted thinks that he should go talk to Robin. You can see him trying to decide for a moment before he walks out the door. Is he going to apologize? Is he going to try to explain himself and defend his actions? We don't know, because he leaves.
And then we get this aftermath montage.
Ted and Victoria break up over the phone on the cab ride back. We don't get to find out how that conversation went, but I bet Ted didn't find out in that conversation, one, what big thing Victoria wanted to talk to him about, and two, that Victoria has been getting really close with a Klaus from her class, and whether or not those two things were the same thing.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the big boogeyman from the last episode, and this episode is what was the big thing she wanted to talk about.
We have no idea.
Yep. We never know. But it's reasonable to assume it's the Klaus class.
I agree, and that's the thing. I've watched the Ducky Tie episode later that comes in later. I watched that before we talked about this because it really seems like that was something that was going on. I'm not saying that that's what she was going to talk to Ted about, but I don't know what else it could be. It's I imagine that she wanted to talk to Ted about how long distance sucked and how she was getting close with the Klaus in her class. And that's what she wanted to talk about. We don't get to find that out. Not here, and we don't really get to find it out later. We do get to find out later that she is close with the Klaus from her class, but not that was what the call was about.
The call about Klaus.
And how close they are in the class. Yeah. And fans, that actually might be the last time we get to do a Klaus and a close in the class thing. That bit might be over.
So, also in this montage, we see in split screen Ted and Robin getting ready for bed. They turn the light off at the same time, but only Robin closes her eyes.
Right, because Ted is kept awake by his horrible crushing guilt.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, it's a pretty dark ending. I say good on you, Basin Thomas. Yeah. Good on you for making a dark episode.
Good job, guys, except you fucked up with the Saturday.
Yeah, way to drop the ball with that one.
So this is the first appearance of Alexis Denisoff as Sandy Rivers. He will return 10 times.
Right. It's also Allison Hannigan's husband.
Sure is.
Legit husband.
Final appearance in season 1 of Ashley Williams as Victoria, or Fantasy Victoria, or Ghost Victoria.
Right. do want to throw out there that I'm glad that they didn't write her off, because they rushed her off pretty quickly with Cupcake. They're like, oh crap, we need to write you off of the show, like now, like last episode. So let's go ahead and get you out of here in a hurry. So they write her off. So instead of just writing off her character and breaking up with her without having Ashley back on screen, they at least give her a send-off and have her come back as an apparition or manifestation, which is at least thoughtful to the actress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was very thoughtful to the audience as well. So thank
Right.
you guys. Thank you everyone involved. George Ki Chung as Korean Elvis. You may know him as the Asian guy in every other show you've seen. He has a lot of credits.
Oh,
That seems to be the theme of his cast, his role in Hollywood.
Token Asian.
Yeah.
So we get the first Tiny Five.
Yeah. The second and last one would be from Barney tiny fiving his nephew. I heard that was improvised by the NPH.
Okay. Seems like something he would do.
Chris, I want to say we've had a dark, moody scene in Matchmaker, but we have not had such a dark, moody episode as this one.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the whole thing takes place after 2 a.m. I mean, I know you're talking about like dark and moody as far as like the content and the theme of it, but it also sort of helps that there's nowhere that they can go where it's not dark.
Yes.
Like it's nighttime out and like the bars are dark.
Cinematically, it's dark and
Right.
moody as well.
Yeah, this is one of those reasons why I like the show so much. Is because of they're funny most of the time for sure. They're serious some of the time, but sometimes they're just like straight kick you in the nards.
Yeah.
Dark. Like, wow, I feel worse about myself and all other people for having watched this.
I don't know if I've ever felt that dark, but speaking of nards, we see Korean Elvis again in the karaoke bar, which we saw in the last episode, and this is one of the few times we get to see Robin's apartment. First time we get to see her girly bathroom, I think. It's just building sets left and right.
Yep. I feel like we covered the character motivations quite a bit, but let's just run through them. I think Ted and Robin are both confused because as information is presented to them, they don't necessarily have the correct information. So they're just making bizarro decisions left and right that ultimately end up getting everyone hurt.
It is an important Ted episode because, as you said, it shows that he's not a saint. He's made bad decisions. Bradner has to literally say, yes, I just want to get laid. They kind of open the character up and lay him bare in this episode, sort of, to build him back up, I think.
Yeah, because he's got some work to do to sort of fix things. He won't do it in the next episode. But we've got Marshall. Marshall's trying to be Ted's dad in this episode.
Barney, Marshall, and Lily don't really contribute much to this episode in terms of character.
Right. Lily tries to give good advice too, but she ends up spilling the beans as she's good at doing. Barney, like you said, like his idea, from best I can tell, is to not give Ted any information and just let him do whatever. And then once Marshall and Lily screw that up, then he's like, all right, let's make this night legendary.
Yeah, well, he did.
Bored otherwise.
He did promise not to tell Ted.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Promised Robin. He made a bro.
One more thing I'll mention, Chris, is the Netflix has different music in Robin's morning scene.
Right.
From the DVD version. And also the music where Robin is drinking wine and calls Ted early in the episode. The music is God Bless the Child by Michelle Featherstone. You can find it on YouTube, I suggest, if you're watching the Netflix version. Find the song on YouTube and do your best to play them both at once because it is a wonderful song.
Oh, okay.
So, Chris, do you have a life lesson?
Yeah. This week my life lesson is don't lie to people.
I like them when you can fit them on a bumper sticker.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, it's 2 words. Don't lie. There isn't a truck full of sulfuric acid that crashed outside of Robin's apartment. It's burning a hole all the way straight down to hell.
Leads straight to hell.
So just go home.
So yeah, home should be fine.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Hell will be at least 10 blocks.
Yeah.
The portal to hell is not expected to interfere with the traffic in Midtown. how did you feel about this episode? Let me know what you think by tweeting at me at HIMYM_James on Twitter.
And each week, James and I get so much out of discussing this episode. We really enjoy doing this, and we hope you enjoy it, and we hope you share it.
Join our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/group/HIMYMSuperfans. Join the community discussion there. We're sharing memes. We're sharing the episodes. We're having a good time there. We'd love you to come join us.
If you like the show, a great way to help us out is to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. You don't have to write a review.
Just write about that time you juiced with friends.
And give us that 5 stars. It really helps us with getting discovered and helps us grow our audience so we can keep making this show.
So join us next week for a very special edition of Mary the Paralegal. We're going to do something weird. I hope you're going to like it. Thanks so much, folks. See you next time. Chris, you live here alone. Don't you ever get lonely?
No, I have 5 dogs.